Oh man, hold on one second. I just have.
Okay, it's recording now. Great, we're gonna be live very, very soon.
All right, awesome. So we'll wait a little bit for people to hop on.
Yeah, it's gonna be 1 minute. We need 1 minute. Okay, like 10 seconds now, I think.
Are people not able to access it until it actually turns 9?
No, people, okay, so now it's all right. So we're live.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
Yep.
All right, people are starting to hop on. We're gonna wait just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, we have
30.
That's very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hello everyone. We're waiting a little bit for people to join here. First thing to say is that there's a chat here. You can talk with us there, and there's a Q&A section there. You can just put your questions. We're going to be answering in the end of the webinar. Okay.
All right. We've got over 60 people.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah, I think we should start right now.
Okay, awesome. So welcome. I'm so happy you're here with Fabio and I tonight. We're super happy to talk to you about a super important topic, which is how to get into data science. And so we've planned out a lot of great topics to cover tonight. And we plan on talking to the guides and sharing a bit of our experience and some strategy. And then we're going to open it up to your questions. So absolutely, as your questions come up, or if you've been holding on to your questions and you want to type them in now and be first in the Q&A box for when we open up Q&A, you can go ahead and do that as well. And so first I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Kristen Kerrer, which I assume you know because you would have seen my name on the post mentioning the webinar. But so I'm a data scientist. I've been in the field for 9 years. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a master's degree in statistics. I'm currently working in e-commerce, working on some really interesting projects, but I also have some experience working in the utility industry and in healthcare, you know, all serving the function as a data scientist.
All right, very, very cool. So I'm Fabio Vasquez. I hope you know who I am. If you don't know who I am, I'm from Venezuela. I live in Mexico, and I'm a data scientist too. I proclaimed myself data scientist a few years ago. So, and I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now. Like going data science. I studied physics and computer engineering, and then I did my master's in physics here in Mexico. And after finishing that, the obvious path for me was to become a data scientist because physics, data science is the same thing. And I'm working right now at Oxo. It's a retail company here in Mexico. I'm working with other companies like Racken and Business Science and more people there, just trying to help them to get into data science and to help them building solutions for data science. All right. So just before starting, I want to tell you that if for some reason we hit the 100 mark and you have friends that cannot join into the webinar, we're gonna hit a button here to be live on Facebook. So you can see us there too, if you can join here. So Kristen will share a link to that webpage if that happens. And so you know that. And okay.
Cool. And so I think now we are going to talk just a little bit about our experience getting our first job or other jobs in data science. And so for myself, actually, when I was getting my first position in data science, it was a bit of a different you know, the climate was just different. I had no problem getting a job. In my master's degree, sorry, my baby is up there yelling. My husband is on it. But, you know, so I finished my master's degree. My professors were wondering if I would like to work for the utility company that happened to be 3 miles from where my parents lived. And I said, sure. I interviewed once and, you know, they offered me the job. And, you know, before I knew it, I was building neural nets to forecast hourly electric load so that during peak times of like intense heat, they knew how to manage capacity. You know, and even going for my second job, I'm kind of a routine job hopper. I found it on Craigslist, and you know, I applied and I was like, hey, like I've built models in R and I can do all these things, but I have no SQL experience, but I can learn. You know, and I went in for my interview and they hired me on the spot. And so Fabio and I wanted to start talking about our experiences, and I said, hey, you know, I think my experience is a little different because like I've been in the field for 9 years and it was very different. But I am aware of what the climate is now, and I just recently got a new position as well, working as a data scientist for Constant Contact. So I can certainly speak to, you know, the interview process and sort of the competition there and what I'm seeing. But so now I'll let Fabio share a little bit about his experience.
So I think my experience is something that a lot of you can relate, and it's coming from academia to data science. And when I was starting in the world of data science, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, there was some people doing data science and some books and MOOCs out there for data science, but there was not that big like explosion we have right now. So maybe it was easier for me to get started like 5 years ago. And my first job was very ad hoc because when I was starting, I started like a backend developer. And for some reason, we needed to do a model for a company. And hey, do you know machine learning? I was like, okay, I've been doing a MOOC for a while, so I can just give it a try. And I started like that. So it was very simple, very easy. Not being a data scientist, I didn't call myself a data scientist. I was like a developer with machine learning and stuff. And I think my first real job was in BBVA, the bank, and I applied for a lot of jobs before going before being able to do that. And oh, sorry, we have hit the 100 attendees, so we're gonna go live on Facebook.
Do you have a link for that?
Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay. So I know there's people that cannot join anymore because of this. So please give us a minute. Zoom is preparing to the live stream. All right. How to get data science. Okay. So now
we're a link to share with me, and I can.
Yeah, I'm working on that right now.
Oh, sorry.
So okay, this is preparing. So so I applied for 125 jobs before getting my first real job in data science. This is before I knew how to really get a job in data science. So we're going to talk about that later. So Kristen, hit it up with the next part.
All right, I had gotten rid of my.
Oh, we're live on Facebook now. And here I'm gonna send to Kristen here. That's very lame. I copied the streaming link and just facebook.com. All right.
Wait, I don't see the link.
Yeah, because the link is.
Oh, there it is. Oh. Yeah, that's lame. Okay.
All right.
Will people be able to find you?
Yeah, just please find me. And I have no idea how to share this. I'm just trying. Oh, okay. Uh, yeah, I have no
Well,
idea
we can
how to
just
share
move
it.
on. We'll just move
Yeah, let's move on. I mean, just try to find me on Facebook. My name is Fabio Vasquez. I'm just there, and
I'm
if
just
you
there.
can, I'm just there. Just I'm there. So okay, we're good.
Okay, so the next topic that we want to talk about is building your brand as a data scientist. So, Fabio, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah. So as I said before, I applied to 125 jobs using the easy apply button from LinkedIn, and I thought like, oh yeah, I'm just doing it. I'm just applying for a lot of jobs, and I'm gonna get like 50 answers and responses, and everything, and all's gonna go well. And that didn't happen. So I got very few responses from those 125 applications. And then I realized that was not the way of getting a job in data science. So what I started doing was building my brand. And your brand, I mean, don't take this as like flexing. Oh yeah, I'm the best. Just take it as you can do things to get viewed by other people, to get views. And I started posting on LinkedIn. I started creating some blogs. I started creating some articles, sharing my experiences on simple posts, on longer like article, as like joining webinars and just going there into the open source world, try to help there. And people started seeing me. And it's like, okay, so I know this guy because he's in every post in every post I read about the science, he's there, and he has a lot of posts there of his experiences with what he knows about data science. So maybe it's gonna be a good fit for my company, and that's what you want. You want people to get to you. It's much easier to get the job if people are like waiting for you to accept their offer.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not that easy. I mean, I'm not saying that you're gonna create 4 posts on LinkedIn in one article and you're gonna get like 1,000 calls. Not the way. You have to continuously keep doing this, continuously getting more views. People will get interested in what you have to say, what you have to share with people, and after that, you'll see it's gonna be very, very much easier to get a job in data science.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and it's not so much about sharing maybe the most technical thing that you know, but it's packaging up things that you just want to share with the community. It's being a member of the community, it's being active and commenting on other people's posts, and just being there as somebody who's known and an active member of the community. And actually, I've seen some people be really successful at, even on Twitter, like doing Tidy Tuesday. Someone was working on their PhD. They were managing Tidy Tuesday, which is using tidyverse in R, and immediately got a job at R after they graduated from school. Before I even started writing a blog, I was still getting a lot of recruiters reaching out to me on LinkedIn. And it was because I had oh, is that the link? Okay, I will share that. 1 second. It was because I had
Yeah, that's the
okay,
link.
that's posted. Cool.
And
It was because I had my skills updated on my LinkedIn profile. So it was both, writing them in the info section about me and putting them in the place where you like type in each of your skills and update them. And it was just there, and there are recruiters who are searching for those skills. And every once in a while, I'd get someone reaching out to me saying, like, hey, I have, this position that I'm looking to fill. Is that something that you'd be interested in talking about? And so it's making sure that you are open and available to opportunities that might arise, and that you're viewable. But it's also, when you are looking to apply to jobs, like Fabio said that he applied to 100 different jobs. Well, if you've applied to 30 jobs and you haven't heard from a single one, you need to take a step back and say, okay, is this the way that I'm positioning myself on my resume? Is there something that I can do to get myself noticed? And so, there's all sorts of different things that you can do to update your resume. And then there's also things that you can do to get in the inbox. For every single job that I applied to, I would go on LinkedIn and I would look up and say, could I find the director of data science at that company? And I already knew that they had a position. So it wasn't that I was, just blindly messaging a bunch of data scientists asking if they had any positions. It was somebody who I knew had an open position that they were looking to fill, that I could effectively fit what they needed. And I'd reach out with something like, hey, I really liked the post you did the other day, like start off with a nice icebreaker so that it becomes more authentic. It comes across more authentic, rather than just saying like, hey, I need, this is what I'm looking for, and this is, what I want. It's like, hey, how are you today? I saw that post you made the other day. That was great. I noticed that you have a position that you're looking to fill, and I'd love to get my resume into the right hands. And then, list a couple things that specifically are things that they're looking for in that person. So, whether it's that you code well in Python or R, or you have experience with machine learning, or, SQL, like list a couple of things. And I actually said them in a more casual way. I'd be like, I'm a whiz at SQL and I have some exposure to Python, and if you'd be willing to help me get my resume into the right hands, I'd really appreciate it. And I had a fantastic response rate with that. And so I'm making a connection before I'm giving somebody my resume, before I'm expecting them to look at my resume.
Yeah, so I think we can go to, I want to talk about specific points for your LinkedIn right now. So I know there's some questions there, but we're gonna go there in the end. So right now, the first thing is have a good profile picture in your LinkedIn, and have a picture. Just have a picture. That's very important. And it's very hard for someone to accept your connection if you don't have a picture. It's very hard for people to really believe it's you there if you don't have a picture. Okay, so that's my first recommendation. My second one, don't put your name in all caps, please. Don't put your name in my name is you're screaming your name. Just put your name in the title fashion, normal, and then really think about what you're gonna say in your description. Your description is very important for recruiters. Why? They have a way to search for keywords in your descriptions and the profiles on LinkedIn. So be sure that you're talking about who are you, what you want to do, what you know, and what can you do for someone. It's like, okay, so I studied this and this. I've been working with Python, R, and I've created some models for clients, forecasting of out of stock predictions and stuff. Mention those words, because sometimes if you really want to work in the data science for healthcare, mention that on your description, because it will be easier for people to get there and understand, okay, he wants to work there. Maybe he doesn't have the experience, but he wants to work there. My other recommendation will be treat every one of your experiences as a story, and you need to tell what you did and not bullets in the air, work with Python, work with R, and I did a work. I did a macro in Excel. That is nothing for. I mean, there's nothing for a recruiter. Talk about what you actually brought into the company. What value you can get to the company. Like, okay, so I managed to cut the turnover for my company from 20% to 10%.
Or even that macro that you just mentioned. It's like, did that macro
explain
that
it.
you created, did that save somebody a half hour each day of manual work? That's value.
Yeah, of course. So mention what is adding value and not what you did. So it's like what you did becomes is after of how that helped your company or whatever you helped. So, and I think there's more things we can talk about on LinkedIn. Right now, those are my 4 recommendations. Follow them. You're gonna see you're gonna see a big change in people seeing your resume, seeing your LinkedIn, trying to connecting with you, because okay, so he knows this and this. I'm interested in having his thoughts and understanding what he wants to do on my feed. So you're gonna get more people trying to connect to you.
Okay, awesome. So now we were going to talk about how to prepare for interviews, but I also see somebody asking about what are the stages of the interview process for data science and internship, and expectations. And so those seem very closely aligned. So if you're okay, Fabia, we'll sort of talk about, so you send your resume into a company. It most likely goes through the automated system that determines whether or not they think you're a good fit before it ever gets into a mailbox. If it gets into somebody's mailbox in HR, somebody's going to read it. They're going to decide whether or not to email. Like, this is typical. It can be different, but this is like the standard flow. They'll decide whether or not they want to reach out to you for a phone screen. They will email you and say, hey, are there some times that you're available to do a phone screen? And these are typically with HR. Again, you could speak directly with the hiring manager on the first time, but typically it is a phone screen. You're gonna talk on the phone screen with HR. They're gonna say, oh, hi, so-and-so, is this still a good time to talk? You're gonna say yes. Then they're gonna say, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. And, here it's like literally your 3-line elevator pitch. You do not want to start from like, I was valedictorian in high school, which I wasn't, like, not even, but I'm just saying, like, you don't want to start in high school. You want to, high level, my name's Kristen. I'm a data scientist. My background is math and statistics. I've been working in the field for 9 years across a number of different industries, and I've worked on some incredibly interesting projects that I'd love to tell you about. I mean, I'd go a little bit deeper than that, but like what I'm saying is like really bring it up a level. So, so I'm trying to make this quick because we're sort of on a timeline. But, so you're going to go through this phone screen. It's probably going to be about a half an hour. They might ask you a couple of behavioral questions. They're also going to ask you about your salary expectations. Try and avoid that question if you can. I have a blog article about, this where I sort of go through the whole thing. But basically, you get past the phone screen. When they ask you if you have any questions, make sure you ask, when can I expect to hear from you? The next step is typically a phone interview with the hiring manager. They may have you come directly on site. It all depends on the size of the company and the urgency to fill that. But a lot of times it's going to be next. You'll talk with the hiring manager on the phone. That's pretty routine. That's where you'll get a better idea of the actual position. A lot of times the job description that you see on the internet may not match perfectly with what you end up talking about with the hiring manager. Like, their needs may actually be different. And so you want to make sure that you're prepared in a way to truly get at, okay, what tools are you using? Because like, if you're a SaaS shop, like I like R and Python, and I'm like passionate about staying with like the open source tools. So like, I would remove my candidacy there. But so you want to get at all those questions that are going to make a difference before you think about going on site to to talk with these people, you know, and if you make it past the talk with the hiring manager, typically, and again, this could be, you could have more phone calls, these could be virtual calls, you might have to submit a virtual interview that like literally you just record yourself and submit it and you're not talking to anyone besides the camera. But you know, you go on site, and on site they're going to ask you to demonstrate some of your Python skills. If you say you know Python, they're going to ask you some SQL questions to make sure that you'll be able to access the data in the database. They're going to ask you some more behavioral questions. They're going to expect that you have questions to ask. You may be expected to present something, but that's something that they'd tell you ahead of time. Hey, can you bring a presentation that you've prepared? And if you don't have a presentation prepared because you're just out of school, you can take an analysis that you did in university and try and create that in a way that would be more appropriate for business, right? But like the standard methodology and like coefficients of your model, like that isn't going to fly. Like you need to bring it to life, tell the story or whatever. But so you might present, you'll be sort of reviewed on your presentation skills, both being able to speak to a group and being able to, you know, put a presentation together. And so that's like the super fast talking 5 miles a minute overview of sort of what that looks like. And I will let Fabio talk to how to prepare for those interviews.
So, that's very accurate, and I think a lot of people that are here are going to be following that path because it's very standard across the industry in the whole world. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes you have less interviews, sometimes you have only like 2 interviews, and if you pass that, you're okay. But most of the time, you're going to get to a lot of different interviews. And my first like suggestion here is be prepared to work in an environment that you're not comfortable to. Because I mean, when I was starting doing these interviews, it was very weird for me to like program in a like in a place where I don't have any functions, like just a plain text file or a program in a chalkboard. So that's not easy. So prepare for that if you know it's going to be like questions about programming in that fashion. SQL is a very important part of every interview in data science. Even if you're applying for a deep learning position with machine learning and you're going to be changing the world, if you don't know SQL, you're not going to get in. Most of the time, most of the questions you're going to be getting is about like getting data, understanding the data, being able to just see it, group it, aggregate it, and just work from there. If you're not able to start working with the data, you're not going to be able to run machine learning or deep learning or whatever. So how to prepare for this? There's a lot of web pages out there. There's a very cool blog by Brandon Roher. He's a data scientist at Facebook, and he has a post called How to Prepare for Interviews in Data Science. And he lays down several different like articles and web pages. You can practice your R skills and your Python skills and your SQL skills. And I think that's, you need to practice a lot. And you need to be able to solve questions in a data science way. And what I mean with this is most of the time you're going to be presented with a problem that it could be related into data science or it could be related into the company itself. And you need to be able to add value in a very short period of time on solving that problem through a data science process, and then be able to put that into, like Kristen said, into a presentation or a short talk or explanation. So be prepared, if that's the case, to be able to create some good storytelling parts for your problem definitions. Be able to have some good skills for making charts for R or Python if you're gonna be if you're needed to present some charts. And I think being patient is very important here. Really think about what they are asking you to solve. Just don't go there and speak whatever you think. Just first study the question, analyze it, see what you have to solve it, and then go from there. So, I mean, I think we need to go to the last part. It could be more, I mean, we can talk about a whole webinar about how to prepare, like with examples and stuff. We can do that. If you're interested in that, please post that on the question, the Q&A. So right now, something that comes a lot when we're trying, when we were trying to put this session together, I think most people ask us about what's the path to become a data scientist.
I see that question coming up a lot right here too.
Yeah, so like I have experience. I don't have experience. I'm an architect. I'm a physicist. I'm a doctor in law. So how can you get to data science? That is the question for right now. So first, I'm gonna be listening to Kristen.
Okay, so there's so many paths to become, and as I look at, you know, all the questions that are being asked right here, it's like, do you have to come from a stats or math background? No, you do not. And I hear people saying, you know, I come from a computer science background. Is that okay? And it's like, that's a fantastic background to have. My boss right now, he has a bachelor's degree in CS. He went from there to working in finance, and now he's director of data science. If you can code and then you learn machine learning, like, you're in a fantastic spot. Like, that's great. If you come from a math and stats background, if you're still in school, I'd suggest you take numerical analysis as a course, just to like prepare yourself for the coding, because I had to learn coding on my own, and I, you know, can still struggle with certain things sometimes. And you know, so there's so many different ways you can do this. I've even seen marketers who, you know, they're close to the metrics, they're familiar with testing because they've been doing product management, and, you know, they make the move to analytics, and then they learn some data science at like some machine learning, and they make the move to data science. And actually, you know, at my second job, there was somebody whose master's degree was in psychology, and in their first job, they found that SQL was going to be very useful to them. They learned SQL, and then they learned machine learning algorithms, and they're now a data scientist. So there is no one direct path. You can literally go from anywhere. However, I don't want to make it sound too simple, because like there's a ton to learn. Like, and there is no direct path because it is such a broad field, and you're going to see that the data science job descriptions that you see out there reflect that like some, you know, positions are going to be looking for people who can build recommendation engines, and there's going to be other, you know, jobs that are specifically deep learning, and there's going to be other jobs that are more, you know, marketing analytics, where you're doing customer segmentation and all these things. But if you have those skills and you can market them effectively, and you have a quantitative degree, or you have, you know, a lot of experience in industry, and you've learned, you know, some machine learning algorithms through MOOCs, like, don't underestimate the power of like logistic regression and random forests, and being able to like position those really well on your resume and catch someone's eye. And if you can speak really well, you know, and you interview really well, like, I mean, it really runs the gamut. And there are always going to be positions out there where, you know, like a research assistant or something, like those are incredibly technical, and you probably need to be a PhD. But like, there's, you know, just this like wide field out there of what's considered data science, There's no one path to go there, but at the same time, don't think that you're like taking all these courses and like trying to like get to this point where like eventually you'll have enough skills to start applying. Like, you know, if you have the things that I just mentioned, or some of those, like start thinking about how to position yourself and network and get in, because a lot of this stuff you're going to learn on the job as well.
Yeah. So maybe to finish this discussion, I can is just say here that the path depends also on what you want to do. It's not the same to be a generalist and to be a data science for healthcare or a data scientist for banking. You can do that too. So back in the data science office hours, we had a question from someone that told like, hey, if I want to work in banking, is it as data scientist, is it better for me to do a master's in economy or a master's in data science? And that's a very good question, because that depends. If you do the master's in economy and you have the tools to learn the programming bits and understand the data science world for your side, I think that's better. But if you really think you need a structured learning path, like a school or a master to get to data science, maybe it's better for you to do that master's. I think right now, I mean, I did no official studies of data science. I think that 95% of data scientists right now in the world, we don't have a data science master's degree or a data science PhD. That's not a thing. And what you need to think is, what do you want to do in your life? And what's the path you want to follow? Okay, if you want to be a programmer in Python for deep learning, okay, so focus on understanding Python, focus on understanding the math behind that, and just go from there. And I see here a question that is related to this. It's like, like Kaggle. Is Kaggle good for this? I think Kaggle is a good, like the whole MOOCs platform and Kaggle and GitHub are good places to start like creating your path, because each path is different. But if you see, okay, so I have all of these great MOOCs there, I have all of these, and I want to be able to solve this challenge on Kaggle. And I want to, after solving this challenge on Kaggle, to be able to get a job there. So I think that's a good path for you to follow, to understand the specific parts you need to understand to solve a challenge or a problem you have in mind. And after doing that, trying to get into the field and having that experience of working on a challenge or solving a problem and posting that problem like an article or something like that, I think it will be much easier for you to get that job.
Can I just answer one question real quick, because it's so fast?
Yeah.
This is from Allie Lee. Is there a good way to prove that you know SQL? Should I obtain a certification? No, you shouldn't. You can just learn SQL by reading blog articles, taking a MOOC, which I wouldn't necessarily consider that like a certification or whatever, but just learn how to do, write a select statement, do some joins, write a where clause, a having clause. And then, the proof is in when you get to that point in the interview where they say, here's, they're, put papers up on the wall and say, join these two tables on this key, get me all the people that are, purchased after December or whatever. They'll ask you a couple questions, and like, that's how you show that you know it. So just learn a little bit, put it on your resume and put it out to the world.
Yep. That's it. All right. So I think that's it. We have a lot of questions.
We have so many questions.
Yeah, it's going to be impossible to get to all of them. Before going in the Q&A, we have to say two things. If you want to contact us, you can follow us on our LinkedIn profiles or Twitter handles. Mine is Fabio Vasquez, and Kristen is
Data Moves Her.
Data Moves Her. Mm-hmm. And so you can find us there, and if you have suggestions for the next webinars, please write them there. next webinar will be very interesting for you guys, and it's gonna be very tied to a surprise that's gonna be happening around that. So that is planned for the next 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we could have that webinar, and it's called Creating a Resume for Data Science That Gets Calls. And you need this. You need to have a good resume that people, after watching it for 60 seconds, that is like the average, they're like, oh, I need to call this guy. I mean, he's the one. He's the one. I want to have this guy on my company. So we're gonna help you like building like the basics for that resume. And Kristen is an expert there, and she's gonna help you with that.
Okay. Yep. And I'm seeing this question right here too. To what level would you put your technical skills on your resume? So first of all, for getting past ATS, you don't want to put it as like a chart with the little lines or whatever to show your levels. Like if there are things that you want to put, first of all, I'd read job descriptions. And if you see that they're asking for different algorithms, list those specific algorithms. Use the verbiage that is in the job descriptions that you're seeing, because you're going to see a pattern there. And personally, I list all of my skills. So I have experience with survival analysis, regression, like cluster analysis, like I go on and on and on. And then, you know, for my technical abilities, I mention like Git, GitHub, Python, R, SQL, like I just list them all out, I mean, anything you put on your resume is fair game to be asked about, but like certainly you want to put your technical skills on an area of your resume that is very visible so that somebody in that 5-second scan can look at it and say, yes, this person has the skills that we think we need. It's worth talking to them.
All right. So before going into your questions, that we have a lot of them, we are going to answer maybe 2 questions because we got a lot of emails for people just asking something. Maybe they ask the same question here again. I'm not sure. And I think they're close to what we discussed in this half an hour, and it will be good for them to have an answer for that. So the first question we got was, I want to know, for someone with a PhD in electrical engineering and have a background in like theoretical areas of data science, what's the bare minimum to do to land a job in data science? Doing one MOOC program, really working on open source projects? And I'm gonna start by saying here that it will depend a lot on the company you're applying if they're gonna take like your PhD as a winner. I mean, there are companies that will expect for you to have a master or a PhD to get you there, but I think the majority of them are not expecting that. They're expecting for you to be able to show your skills. And doing MOOC programs, I think that's the way I learned. I know there's a lot of people in the data world that learn from that too. And I think you have to understand that doing every MOOC you find is not the way to go. And you need to like narrow down. Okay, so these are the webinars I want to do because I saw the title, I saw the overview, I saw the syllabus, and they look interesting, and commit to that. Like, don't think of the MOOC as you're going to school, because if just seeing the videos like this there, you're doing nothing. You have to do the exercises, do the work, do the homework, do the exams, and if you're able to do this, and then you can contribute to open source, that's a good path to follow to. When I was starting in the data world, I contributed to open source in the beginning, and I learned a lot from there. Like, there's a very good amount of people helping you in the open source community to get your code there, testing your code and things. So I think that the contribute to open source part is very important. All right, Kristen, you can take the second one, please.
I actually think we've talked about this a fair amount just through the webinar. Do we want to start going to
No,
the question?
the third one I think is interesting
The third
to
one.
discuss.
1, 2, 3. I am from a QA background with 9+ years experience and now moving to data science. What type, junior level, senior level of job should I target? And the answer is that there is no clear answer to this. I have seen jobs that are for a principal data scientist that look really junior, and I've seen junior data scientist positions that look pretty senior. And so the thing is if you read a job description and you match like 70% of the skills on there, you can apply. And also be open to other titles, because there are going to be analyst titles that are going to require Python, R, they're going to be building models and doing cool things, and you really don't know what a job entails until you speak to a person. Because the unfortunate thing with job postings is that a lot of times they're copied and pasted and thrown up there quickly. Somebody says, we need a data person, and they're not sure whether that's, a principal data scientist, a junior data scientist. They just sort of have an idea of what it is they're looking for. They throw a title on it, they throw it out. Then you speak with the hiring manager and they talk about the types of projects that you're going to be solving. And that sort of gives you an idea of whether or not you fit. So target everything that you think you are a fit for. And if somebody is asking for, 2 years of experience, to me, that means it's a junior level role. So if you're a really strong candidate with no experience, like, go for it. If somebody's asking for 7 years and you have 4, but you're going to come across really strong, go for it. There's no harm in putting out your resume, but make sure that the resume cover letter package that you're putting out is solid.
Yeah, and I think we can just go to the Q&A from you guys. And the first question we got was from Miguel Morales, and it's very similar to the thing that the Christian was just talking about. And there's a question here that is, how about suffering a significant salary decrease? Like if you have a lot of experience in another field and you're a senior level and you want to go to data science, what's going to happen with you there? And I think that you have to understand what you're doing. I mean, if you really want to go to data science, maybe you'll need to start from like not a senior position level, and that's okay. There are very good jobs like data analyst jobs, and that pay a good amount of money for you to start, and then just think about it as a start position, and you're gonna go higher and higher and higher. If you really love data science and this is what you want to do, don't think about, oh, I win this amount of money, and if I go there, I'll lose that amount of money. That's important too, but think about what will happen for you in the end. If you go right now, of course, it's going to be a period of for you adapting to that. But after that, just the only place to go is up.
Yep. For people who haven't graduated in mathematics or statistics and come from a computer science background, what would be the things you would like to see on their resume to offer them a job? And so honestly, it's going to be the standard machine learning things, and especially if you're just coming out of school, that's all we'd expect you to have. The real proof is going to be in when you come in for an interview, how is your cultural fit? How are your personality skills? Like if you're am I looking at this from the beginning or the end? Like, so you absolutely do not have to have a math or statistics background. You have to have on your resume that like makes it clear that you have some understanding of data and how it's structured and how you might go about cleaning it, but you can do that with one or two really well-positioned projects. And, you know, like I said, like software engineering is like a fantastic skill to have. It makes everything easier. And it's funny because we get this question a lot, and it's like, you're in a great place. Like, learn some machine learning, demonstrate that you know how to deal with messy data, and like start applying.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask to solve this question here because it's interesting. It says, is it a good practice to share our resume in our LinkedIn profile? And this is a good question because I think Kristen can add here. And this is what I did. This is my experience. I have a very high level resume that I have on my LinkedIn as a PDF on like my media. You can have media there on LinkedIn, and this is not like a very specific type of resume, because what's been working for me in the past years of applying to companies is having a specific type of resume for getting into a type of company is important. So you don't want to put like 24 resumes in your profile. So it's okay if you can put there like a high level profile of who you of who you are, what you studied, what has been your experience working in the data science field, and that's it. And don't put there like the full resume. That will be my answer there. I don't know what you have to say about that, Kristen.
Nope, I think that was a great response.
All right.
There's just so many.
Yeah, we have like more than 30 questions here, so it's not gonna be easy to answer all of them.
If you were interviewing someone, what would make you say, wow? And literally, that would be somebody who could answer a simple programming question that had like a couple loops and some logic statements in it, answer the SQL questions well, and then had a great personality. And I thought that I'd enjoy working with that person. That would be wow.
Yeah. So one question here is, how does the process differ in the USA from Mexico? I think we have both experiences here. And in Mexico, what I've seen is that the process is much simpler than most companies in the USA. Here in Mexico, we have less interviews. I mean, I've been on companies that we have a lot of different interviews to get to the job. But like most of the companies I've applied in the past, it's like one phone call with the recruiter. Then you go to a call with a data scientist in a team. If that goes well, maybe you go to they'll send you like a data challenge. I don't remember if we talk about that, but it's very common too for them to send you like a hacker rank or a data set for you to ask to solve some questions there, and then just create a simple a study of that data in like 3 day periods. And if that goes well, you get to the hiring manager, and if that goes well, you're in. I mean, that's has been my experience here in Mexico. It's very different as in the USA, and that's what I can say about that.
So here's another question. How do I break the industry domain knowledge barrier? I'm a mid-career data science enthusiast, and my experience has been in HR. So what I want to say is you have industry and domain knowledge in HR, and there are data science positions in HR. Like when I think about the company Kronos, whose software solution is selling software to companies that, helps them manage their personnel and stuff like that. Like, you have industry and domain knowledge. Your industry and domain is just HR. And so, you could either, I've hopped industries multiple times and I've been successful at it. I don't think that's a barrier. And you get a ton of value just by being in industry in general, like learning those cultural norms, understanding how to, communicate through email appropriately in business and schedule meetings and show up to meetings and like be a reliable person. So I think, you have skills that you're not maybe giving yourself credit for. And then in terms of breaking that industry domain knowledge barrier, like just again, like I've hopped industries multiple times. And if my next job is in another industry, like I don't think anyone's going to bat an eye. Once you have some corporate experience, like you can pick up a new industry.
Yeah. So I think we can answer like one more question, because we're running out of time, and there's a lot of questions about R and Python. Which one is better than the other? There are questions
I
about.
use both.
Yeah, I that's my answer. That's my answer all the time. If you want to, if you have to pick one, pick the one you like the most. But both languages are very important, and you should know both.
Yeah, and it depends on what you think you're going to be doing. Are you going to be automating processes? Maybe Python. If you're going to be just, building models that aren't going to be operationalized, R.
So this one here is it important to know software development before entering into data science? It's not necessary. It could be amazing. If you're a pro, if you're a programmer, you have one of the hardest steps done for you going into data science. Is being able to program. So if you have that skill, it's great. But if you don't have that, it's okay. You can learn that by practicing, going into different kind of MOOCs, or is searching on the internet, as just buying a course or whatever.
Which is more preferable for learning? Well, for learning and profile building, is it the paid certifications or MOOCs, or the real-time projects in data science and machine learning? So I think that those are two different questions. Like, I'd take a MOOC to learn a new skill. If I was going to position something on my resume as a project to demonstrate that I've learned something, like I'd want it to be a project. I don't want to put like MOOCs that I've taken on my resume. I'd personally want to have done a project, be able to talk to the result, rather than like I sat through this course.
Yeah, that's something very important. And sadly, it's a thing that a lot of companies do not take. Still, they don't take that seriously, the MOOCs you take. So it's okay for you to take them. It's amazing for you to do that. But
they're valuable.
They're valuable. But instead of putting that in your resume, put what did you create? What did you create with that knowledge you get? That's better. That's better.
How are the internship opportunities in Boston? I am not so familiar. Because I haven't really watched the internship opportunities. I know that, the last company that I worked at, Vistaprint, they had not a lot of, but every year we had a couple data position internships available. If you are from a software engineering background, a good way to get your foot in the door is to take a software engineering internship and then try and make a move over, because the internships in software development are more plentiful than the internships available in data science, from just my little bubble that I'm living in Massachusetts.
Yeah. So one question I answered through the chat, and I think is popping up here, is what's the best way to start contributing into open source? And I think the best way is first find a package or a software that you're really interested into contributing. Just don't go there because you have to contribute in something. Find something you really like, And if you have the skills, like it's a Python package. Do you know Python? If that's the case, you can write to the owners. Okay, you can write to the owners. It's like, okay, so I'm Fabio Vasquez. I've been very interested in your package. I know Python, and I know I can add something for your contribute or contribute something for your package. Write them an email, create an issue, whatever. I mean, me as a developer in the open source area, if someone tells to me, hey, can I help you in your software, in your open source software, I will always say yes. We always need hands. So don't be shy and just go there and try to solve whatever you think is you can solve for something you care, because that's very important.
Hold on, I'm just
very quick.
I'm answering to the person who asked about the Andrew NG, the machine learning course in Coursera. Highly regarded. Everyone agrees that that's a great course.
Yeah,
there's no question there. Yeah, so maybe one or two more questions, and then we're going to have to call it a day. So how about Fabio? I pick one, and then you pick one, and then we.
Yeah. So I just wanna, because she wrote in like caps resending to like please answer me, so I'm gonna answer. And it's like, how common is it to be asked for proficiency in PMML? Will you add that to will that add to a value for like a candidate? So PMML, for someone who knows that, it's a language for exporting models. Like you can create a Python model and export that as a PMML, and you can run that on different servers like SQL services and stuff. I've never been in an interview that asked me for my proficiency in PMML.
Me neither.
It's okay to know that, but right now you have a package for. I mean, it's very unlikely that you will be packaging hand by hand and piece of code by piece of code a PMML for your company. You're gonna use a software pre-built, like for Java there's a package, for Python there's a package, for R there's a package. So I don't think that's a very important part of being in the data world.
Okay, and the last question I'm going to answer is, what type of data science projects are good on a resume? Doing analysis on Kaggle data sets. So I see a lot of people recommend, hey, go try answering questions on Kaggle. The problem that you might run into there is that a lot of those data sets are incredibly large. And, you know, I bet that there are MOOCs with good capstone projects that you could repurpose and position effectively on your resume. Kyle McHugh also has a great article where it's a LinkedIn article. So if you just look him up and look at the articles that he's written, his resource number 20, he had this like list of 20 resources. Resource 20 was a website that just had a bunch of free data sources, like just tons of free data. Like grab a data set, pull it into R or Python, build something as simple as a decision tree or a logistic regression model, but talk about an insight that you found from that, or what was, you know, the driver of something. It doesn't need to be crazy. Like you just want to be able to, you know, like you don't need to take like some huge data set on Kaggle that you're going to have to rent AWS, like just like grab something that'll fit on your local machine, like build a model and clearly articulate what you did.
Okay, guys. So I'm sorry if we couldn't answer all your questions. We have a lot more than here, and please be there for our next webinars. We're gonna try to answer more questions, and maybe just have one of only Q&A. That could be a thing.
Yep, that's what I'm thinking too. Yep.
Yeah, that could be a thing. So please, if you're interested in knowing more about this, just connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with us on Twitter, and just write us a message or create a post and a post and mention us. I think that's better. If you can create a post on LinkedIn and mention Kristen and I, it's better to just ping us with a direct message. I think it will be easier for us to see that. And thank you a lot for being here. It was very fun to have you guys here, and hope seeing you soon.
I had a ton of fun. Thanks, guys.
All right, so I'm gonna be closing this, and Facebook is gonna, I think, gonna die too. All right, bye bye, guys.
Bye.